What's up, guys? This is Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Hero World Challenge. Now, keep in mind, this is not an official PGA Tour event. This is 18 guys in the Bahamas playing for $3.5 million by invitation only. I don't have a ton of course history. This is the fourth year it's going to be played at the same course, which is the I think it's the Albany Golf Club. I don't have any shot link data, so I don't have strokes gain numbers. So this is really just for fun to kind of fill our appetite of golf until January when the PGA Tour starts back up again. So it's going to be a short video. It's going to be a little fun, but we'll go through this. Let's do it. All right, so as I mentioned, only 18 players in the field this week, so it's going to be more about roster construction than anything when you have to fit 6 of these guys into your lineups. There are 3 players over $10,000. Justin Rose leads the way at 11-1, Dustin Johnson at 10-5, and Tiger Woods at 10,300. None of the guys in the field played last week at the RSM. Some of them did play because, Tiger played Phil for $9 million. So it's not like these guys have not played. There's been a couple of Euro events, but as far as PGA Tour events go, none of these guys teed it up at the RSM Classic. I'm going to kind of disregard a lot of the cheat sheet this week because I think that this tool right here, the strokes gain tool, is probably the most valuable. Now, note that we are in the time of year where we don't know how often these guys are playing, right? We don't know if they're practicing a lot. We don't know if they're just taking some time off and are going to show up at the Bahamas thinking this is a vacation. But if you look at the last 20 weeks of strokes gain data, which is what I'm showing you on the screen right now, I think it's fascinating that the field of 18 essentially breaks down into like 3 pods of 6 almost perfectly. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'll try to describe it to you. But if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about, where there are basically 5 players who are significantly below average in strokes gain total over the course of the last 20 weeks. They're all kind of stuck together. It's Bubba Watson, Alex Noren, Patrick Reed, Xander Schauffele, and Henrik Stenson. As you know, there are caveats to this. For example, Patrick Reed just won in Europe a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. I don't have the strokes gain data for that. Okay, so we don't have the data from there, so it's going to skew this a little bit. So just keep that in mind. But outside of that event, Patrick had a really poor, PGA stretch down towards the end of last year. You then get 2 guys kind of Rahm and Day sitting right in the middle of this, a little bit below the average strokes gain total, but kind of, not as bad as the rest of those guys that I mentioned. Then what you get is a really good pot of value. Okay, so you get guys who are all having above average strokes gain total for the last 20 weeks. They are basically numbers 6 through 10 in raw strokes gain total per round, and they are basically like 5 of the cheapest plays on the board. Okay, so it's Keegan, Gary Woodland, Patrick Cantlay, Hideki Matsuyama, and Tony Finau. Keegan and Gary Woodland, I believe, are the 2 cheapest players on the slate. Let's flip back here. Yeah, Keegan, Woodland are the 2 cheapest. Watson and Noren and Stenson are the next 3 cheapest. Those guys show up in like the bad section. Then Cantlay and Matsuyama, those are the next two cheapest guys, so 67 and 6,900. They're in like the good value pod, and then above them is Reed and Schauffele in the bad pod, and Finau above them 7,500 in the good pod. So literally, like the bottom 10 salaried players are in one of these 2 pods. So when you look at this, like I hate giving out lineups or anything close to that, but in a field of 18. Could you imagine, how much overlap is there going to be of all these lineups, right? Like everyone's going to be very highly owned because everyone's going to have a third of the field in their lineup. Could you make a team of Keegan, Woodland, Cantlay, Matsuyama, Finau, and someone else, anyone else, because you can fit anyone else into that lineup? Could you make that lineup and be different than the rest of the field? Maybe, maybe not, because I'm just mentioning it right now, so there's going to be a few of us that have it. But the point is, you could leave a lot of money on the table there and differentiate yourself, just kind of naturally give yourself a different build here and probably be okay. These are all above average plays. These are great plays in theory in an 18-man field. Okay. Then you have the top. So the top right hand of this is the final pot of 5 guys, which is Rose, DJ, Tiger, Fowler, JT, and DeChambeau. So all of them expensive. You're gonna have to pay up. No surprise that those are the most expensive players on the slate. If you make me pick, I'm fairly big on JT this week. I think Justin Thomas could be a really solid play here. This is a course we didn't really talk about the course at all. It's an Ernie Els course. It's only been around for like 8 or 10 years. Really tricky around the greens, but there's 5 par 5s here. So guys that destroy par 5s, someone like a Justin Thomas, could be very valuable here. Okay. Here's that who's hot, who's not, and we'll kind of wrap up with this just for kind of fun here. And since there's only 18 guys, basically everyone shows up in both of these categories, because I think I carry it down to 20 or 25 guys. So again, this is a player's 365-day strokes gain total number versus their 60-day strokes gain total number. Ricky Fowler would be the hottest guy by those pieces of criteria, right? Also, he won this tournament last year, so we know he likes the course. Gary Woodland, Matsuyama, and Keegan are the next 3 hottest players. They are some of the most inexpensive players on the slate. And then JT is the only other guy. So there's only 5 guys who have a positive, quote unquote, like hot value, who are playing above their 365 average, and it's the guys that I just mentioned: Fowler, Woodland, Matsuyama, Keegan, and JT. Everyone else is below their 365-day strokes gained average. The worst of those guys are Noren, Bubba, Reed, and Stenson. All of those guys are bottom tier salary. All of those guys show up in our bad category, obviously, okay? Then it's Day, and then there's Patrick Cantlay, Cantlay's really interesting because he just did he just win an event? What did he just do? Let me check out his recent stats here real quick. Yeah, here he is. So a 2nd at the Shriners the last time he teed it up, and a 7th at the HSBC. So it's not like he's playing poorly, but that WGC, remember, we didn't have strokes gain numbers there. So this is probably a little bit skewed. Now, he had that big Shriners Hospital win, but I might have to look a little deeper into this and see why Cantlay shows up so poorly. It might just be indicative of how well he played to start his career, like those first 11 starts that everyone was always talking about. Cantlay kind of, might have not hurt his value in this who's hot or who's not category, but it might be, leaning on that a little bit more, even though he's played well recently. All right, so there you go. We're going to end it there. There is I think it's a $5, 150 max entry on DraftKings this week, which is incredible for an 18-man field. I suppose because Tiger's in it, they can do that. There is a small chance that I max enter this. If you've not seen me max enter a small field event like this before, I did it a couple years ago at the Tour Championship. I'll link the results of that below, but I might get a little frisky and max enter this. We'll see in a bit, but if I do, I'll try to go through and make a video on the lineup construction and what I'm thinking here and all that good stuff. So there you go. Let me know if you're going to be playing this week and how you're going to approach an 18-man field. I will talk to you guys soon. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. Later.